sings, but I'll always be there in your dreams.
Hi guys, everyone, it's Ada from Poison Rock, and as many people know, I grew up with hard rock, glam metal, slazy. For me today, having Steve Blaze from LILLIAN Axe is really like coming back when I was a teenager. So, I mean, how are you? First of all, it's an honor, really.
I am doing well. You said when you were a teenager, you still look as young as a teenager.
I'm almost 40.
So what's your secret?
I'm almost 40.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
my secret is
you're taking care of yourself. You look very young. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. I think my secret is just a good genetic and listen, hard rock. That's the secret. That's rock and roll.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I've been following your band since really literally the debut. I mean, I wasn't even born, but because it was in 1980, I'm from 87. So, but let's say that I've been since the first album. And I watch all your videos. So, of course, now there has been this amazing song, No Problem, which is kind of a lullaby. It's beautiful. So before just talking about the present, we're just going to make a little bit, just let's say, memory lane. Let's call it like that. Because, of course, I get all the time requests from fans and people asking about, you got to interview, you know, like this amazing musician like you, like other musician from you were in the Sunset Strip, you were like in the golden era of hard rock, literally, you live
right.
So I want to ask you, like, of course, like, which was one of your best and favorite memories of those years, and how did you feel living in that golden era? Because you were Lillian Axe, were that one of those bands, if not that band.
Well, you know, one thing about us is we weren't from California. We weren't from New York. We were from Louisiana. So we were different at that time. And I don't think it's like that as much anymore. I mean, great bands are from all over the world. You know, you have bands from Iowa and Nebraska and Florida. But at that time, because there was such a big scene in New York and in Los Angeles, California, a lot of bands, a lot of bands were there. And I think for a certain time, it was good, but it was also difficult because there were plenty of other great bands all around the country that didn't get the recognition because they weren't right there where the record companies were. Because let's face it, if a record company is looking for a band and you're located in Los Angeles, in New York, isn't a lot easier to just drive a half hour to the clubs and see the bands there than get on a plane and go to Mississippi to see a band that everybody's talking about. So it was kind of an ease of thing. But that's why you had so many bands coming out of those eras. We weren't like that. We were the Louisiana hard rockers, you know, and the only other band in Louisiana that was like popular and playing hard rock was Zebra. And they were different than we were. They were, you know, more like Zeppelin-esque, so to speak.
Yeah.
Great band, still great band.
Yeah.
But we were like the hard rock guys from there. And so we got lumped into the hair metal thing. Now, we all had long hair. We were pretty. We looked good on stage, blah, blah, blah. But the music was the most important thing to us. It wasn't, we just happened to look like, because that was the fashion of the day. That was the style of music. So we kind of looked like that. So when we were, you know, going out to Los Angeles to meet our record company and do videos and record and stuff, that was a whole new world to us. So back in the original days, I think like some of the great memories were when I first went out there to meet our guy that was managing us for a little while. He took me out to the Friars Club, which is where all the big old Hollywood guys used to have their lunch together. It was their little country club, you know?
Yeah.
So I got to meet and have lunch with Milton Berle, who was a famous comedian from the old days. Yeah. He was in Rat's first video. And so I got to hang out with some of these guys. I was more interested in seeing comedians and the actors and actresses and the people on TV and movies than I was into meeting other musicians. I was like, yeah, it's great. No, it's nice. Yeah. But I want to see, I want to meet Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and guys like that, So, but those memories of going out there and recording our first couple of records and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was always, since I wrote everything and I was the leader of the band and co-producer records, I was always having to be the business mind. So while the other guys were out having fun and running around and enjoying that, I was, taking care of the business and in the studio and working hard. So, but those were the things that were great memories. Were watching, seeing our hearing us on the radio, seeing our pictures in magazines all around the world, and getting to go overseas for the first time. And seeing that, halfway around the world, there are thousands of people that love our music, So those were the good things, the traveling and the touring and the playing, meeting people. At that time, that was, those were the great memories.
Yeah. And of course, like your album as well. It's a lot of album. Of course, we don't want to, of course, because people know, the fan of Lillian Axe, they know the album Love Plus War, they know all of this album. So of course, but I want to ask if there is like, apart from the last beautiful album in 2022, From Boom to Boom, which is beautiful, which is as well like this last song came from. If in your opinion, like, because of course, like you were saying before, it was like a more hard rock, kind of all the band had the same style. If when was the point, like the band turned kind of a turning point, like with different direction from all of that scene that was, because many people say, okay, it's grunge, it's that, but it could be different for anyone. I don't think that the grunge could have killed an entire genre. You're still here, other bands are still
here. So. I think, the first album, when we got signed to the first album, the songs on that album had been, I'm trying to think, I was like 25, I think, when we got signed. So, we had been out as a like a local band, but we were touring around regionally and going to New York and different places as an unsigned band, doing covers and our own material. We started doing half and half. Most bands weren't doing that at the time. So I always, since I was a child, I started playing classical and flamenco guitar. So the classical influences and my love of, I would say, the paranormal and things that I don't know, always thirsting to learn. I want to know everything. I'm more interested in the things that we can't figure out than the ones that we can. That always started to creep into the messages. When I first started listening to hard rock, I was listening to Alice Cooper and Sabbath and bands that were not just your 3-chord rock. So, as we started writing and I was writing the first album, I was influenced by the early rock bands, but I also had that part of me that was more dramatic and more melodic and epic, and I wanted every song to be like a novel in itself. So in the first album, songs like Waiting in the Dark and Hard Luck were started to lean towards just an evolution. Then on Love and War, Ghost of Winter, World Stop Turning, Rivers in the Rain, those songs started to bring a different element. It was more of the introducing strings and sound effects and big vocals into. So when I wrote Poetic Justice, I started moving into that area too, of more symphonic sounds, bringing in string sections and 12-string guitars and big vocals. And I think right when Psychoschizophrenia, when I wrote that album, that's where where my path was forged. And so everything from that I still like your basic, straight ahead rock stuff. But as you can tell, From Womb to Tomb is just it's a musical. It's an entire being in itself. There's strings and timpanis and choirs and all kinds of stuff, all the while still being a heavy edge hard rock record. But I I enjoy using, I like power and music and melody and changes in dynamics. And, you know, even in a big, heavy song, I want to make somebody cry on the inside, you know? So that, I think Psycho Schizophrenia, that record was the one where really, I really knew where I was meant to be.
Yeah, and of course, like you mentioned, like I said, the first time, because the last album, because for what I think I'm kind of understanding, it's like Lillian Axe, it became kind of a whole, like non-new genre, but they can incorporate a lot of sound. But you mentioned like the flamenco music. Did you ever think about introducing in the music itself, because it's a beautiful sound, the flamenco music as well? Did you ever cross your mind to do just something with that as well?
You know, I thought about that. I did put a solo album out 10 years ago or so, or maybe a little longer than that. No, but 15 years ago. So, and I did it when my dad passed away. So it's all about you know, what I was going through and at that time. And I did it in my bedroom. So I had just a small 8-track recorder, and I did everything, and it wasn't meant to put out. I was just going to do it for myself and then just let family and friends hear it.
Yeah.
And then, so I said, you know what? I really, I want people to be moved by it. It's all classical guitars and acoustic and strings and stuff like that. It's the closest thing I've ever done to just like a classical guitar album. And, but every time, you know, and over the years, I've had a lot of people go, hey, you need to do a guitar album. I'm not a huge fan of like guitar instrumentals and just like sit there. I mean,
stuff. Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody wants to sit, you know, and I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it and I like listening to it. But just some guitar players sitting in there trying to play 1,000,000 miles an hour. Hey, look, there's 2 million people on the planet that can play great, fast, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people can do that. I'm about the songs, about the creation. Take my guitar. When I do a solo in any song, it's completely unique from the song. Most of the time, I'm not riffing over like the chorus or the bridge that's already in the song. The solo section will be something completely unique. So it's a piece of music in its own. And I try to make the solos that I can sing. Like if somebody asked me, your solo in this song, I could actually, I mean, not very well, but I could hum and sing that solo to you because I want to make, that's just as important as the vocal melody to me, is to make the guitar solo section in a song as unique and as powerful as the vocal section is.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know if I'm going to ever do another like just guitar thing, but on the last record, you know, I had a couple of small pieces. There's a small piece called Endless Green Fields on the last album, and it's a little classical piece. And I wrote it about, have you ever heard of the Rainbow Bridge? The poem about when your pets die and they go to the Rainbow Bridge. I wrote Endless Green Fields about where do our pets go when they pass away. And I have always had this vision of in heaven, this just endless green field. And when we get to heaven, all of our pets come running to us across this field. So
that's a beautiful point. That's beautiful. And I think, who knows, this might be true. This might be true. For sure, we're going to meet all our pets and the loved ones for our animals. That's
I agree,
because they have a soul too. They have a soul.
Absolutely.
It's something that we can. The people that say no, it's just animal. No, even a bear has a soul. Even if you have a bear,
I agree.
You will meet the bear in the green field, all running towards you. And I think this is
and that's how I feel. I just had this image. So when I wrote that piece, beautiful. I was thinking about that, you know, inspiring me where to go with that. So, but so you know, I did a little bit, but I'm so just engulfed in writing Lillian Axe music and taking all of these things and incorporating them into the band. Because we used to be, you know, back in the day, everybody said Lillian Axe is a hair band after the first album or two, mainly because of how we looked. Then we became a hard rock band. We never were really considered a metal band because, you know, we just didn't. But that's the beautiful thing about rock and roll music. There's flavors for everybody. In this last record, we had people saying we were a prog rock band. I'm like, we're not I don't, you know, I mean,
I
you
see
can
this.
see influences
Yeah.
in any, you can look at Rush and people call them a prog rock band, and you listen to their first couple albums and it's just straight ahead rock and roll.
Yeah.
So they can say what they want.
Yeah,
We just,
exactly.
we've just developed into, we have our own unique sound now after so many records.
Yeah.
And we just keep growing and we just keep on evolving and write the best, most dynamic, powerful stuff that we can.
And I think that especially for let's say the older fans, you know, that the fans actually started with the first album, Lillian Axe, to listen.
Right.
And still today, they are like going throughout your music. They kind of grow up with you. Like they changes throughout your music, and that's one of the most beautiful things to see. Of course, I'm speaking about them because they were like maybe teenager, 10 years old.
Right. Right.
But even now, if someone started to listening just Lillian Axe, go, for example, through the first album, they can do the same, of course, path. But it's beautiful to see, especially like the older fans going through all of this and still being here today, even if it's not like hard rock or whatever, just music that came from the soul. Listening to that.
And I think it's cool too, because as they've grown up with me, you know, because as I'm writing these things, I have an entirely different, I wouldn't say different outlook on life, but so much more life experience. So what I write about now, not necessarily what I'm going to write about when I was 22 years old, but I still, those things when I was 22 are still legitimate to me. You know, like that Waiting in the Dark on the first album is about fear of getting old and fear of dying. I still have those same fears and worries now, all these years later. It's just, you know, it's not like, oh, that wasn't me. That's not me. No, that was me back then. And that's me now too, you know? So, it's just, it's an evolution. It's cool to see to see the fans growing with me. Cause when they start to be able to relate, cause you know, you're going to get people are like, oh, your first two albums are the best. Why don't you write like that again? I said, because I'm not that same person.
No, everything changed. I saw like happening as well that people were like asking, like, I don't know, even to Hardline, they completely changed, but this is who they are today. Even still art itself, the last music Komedian Komatijevic is completely as it's who all of you are today. It's still, and if people get to know literally the soul of the band, they can still feel it. There is still Lillian Axe, there is still art or whatsoever band, still that. And especially with this song, that's I want to ask you, especially because I read the the mail and everything, but of course I want to leave to you the word to speak about it, about No Problem, because it comes in the lullaby, it's beautiful. So I'm gonna leave to you the word to explain.
Okay. Well, No Problem. You know, I've got a daughter, and I mean she's older, and you know she has two daughters, so I'm a grandfather, believe it or not. Okay. But my son just turned 15, and so he is like the you know, I'm so close to him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do everything with that kid. I love him so dearly, and ever since he was little, I used to always, you know, like when he was in the womb still, we'd put this little device like on his mom's stomach, and we'd play lullabies to him while he was still in the stomach, right? And so when we took him home from the hospital, the first day we got in the car and turned on You Are My Sunshine, you know, while it was the first song he ever heard, you know, since he was born. And so I've always been a lullaby fan. I love lullabies. They're just, as a matter of fact, I've had a guy told me one time that even in our heaviest hard rock stuff, you can hear lullabies in the melodies. So, and I took that as a compliment. We could take a hard rock song and just strip it down and make a lullaby out of it. So No Problem, I actually was inspired and wrote the beginning of that song. I had a dream, and it was about 6-7 years ago. And I dreamt, this is really weird. I have very strange dreams. I dreamt I was in a room with Joe Perry from Aerosmith, of all people. I mean, you know, I love Aerosmith and all, but it's not like I'm infatuated with Joe Perry. You know, he's just you know, he's great. I love him. But I'm in this dream playing mandolin with him, and I'm playing no problem, and I'm playing the chord, and I'm humming the melody in my head, and I woke up and I couldn't get out of my head, so I got out of bed. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Got my phone out, which is where I put so many of my ideas, because I never know when they're going to pop up, and I hummed the melody in there, and I said, one day I'm going to use something, and sure enough, I waited for the right time, and then when we were doing From Womb to Tomb, it was the time in that album that was about love for a child and love for someone else. I wrote it basically thinking about my son when he was a baby and singing this lullaby to him. But it's for anybody. It's from a man to a woman, boy to a girl, mom to a son, mother to father. It's for anybody. It's just about unrequited love, and it's about don't worry, I'm always with you, no matter. We'll be together forever. And it's an optimistic look at love and devotion to your family and friends around you. So it was real short. The only regret I have, and everybody says, no, it's perfect length. I like it so much that I wish maybe I'd made it a little longer. But maybe then again,
maybe you will have another dream, because you're having this kind of subconscious feeling, and you will have another dream about it. Maybe, I don't know, with another job area, with someone else. Maybe do a second part of it.
You never know. We could. You never know.
You see what I love?
I thought about that.
But
it just came so naturally to me, and that was there's been several other times that I've been inspired by actually writing something in my head and wake up. And there's something about music in your dreams when you're fortunate enough to hear it. Like I just had a dream about a week ago with this angelic string section, and I got up and recorded it, and I'm using it in one of our new songs that's coming out. So I don't take those things lightly when you get inspired, even when you're in your subconscious. So we did the song, and I wanted to make it very simple, just like we have a song called The Day I Met You on Psycho-Schizophrenia, which is one guitar and one vocal. But this one needed to be like that too. So, I mean, there are multiple guitars in the recording on it, but it's very simple, just 3 or 4 chords. And the beauty of it is in the vocal, in the message, in the lyrics, and the way that the vocal soars over the top. Because I'm just strumming straight, easy, 4/4 strumming on some big major chords. Anybody in the world can play this song. I mean, I could teach somebody that never played guitar before to play the song in about 5 minutes. But Brent's performance and the lyrics, I think they really captured the essence of what I was trying to say in this. And so we wanted to do a video for it. So Todd Schmidt, who did our first 2 videos on that album, he and I have been talking about it forever. And on the album, we did a section, an in memoriam section. So we listed as many of our family members and friends and fans that we knew, in memory of them on the album. And so I was always picturing on this song, I know it's short, but why don't we see if we can get pictures of all these people and do kind of a montage? So the first part of it, when you see, is John Sturr, who was the guitar player in the band from the first album, up through Fields of Yesterday, and he passed away several years ago. And then Johnny Vines, who was the original singer when we first started the band before we even got signed, he passed away a few years ago. One of our managers, who was probably one of our closest friends, and then another guy who was a very close friend of the band. Those 4 guys are in this big thing, and nobody expects to see that when in the song, right? They're listening to the song, and all of a sudden, and anybody that knows Lillian Axe knows who at least a couple of those guys are. So all of a sudden they get hit in the chest. Oh my God. And then there's these montages of 50 or 60 other, like my dad, my little sister, my grandmothers, the other guy in the band, their family members. And even like maybe about 10 people in there are some fans that we knew that were just major fans of Follows Forever that we knew about. And I'm sure if we had the ability and knew about it, we'd have put 500 people in there,
You see how to do a second part of the song.
you and I are figuring this out right now, that I'm going to have to do No Problem Part 2. Right? So that's how we did the video, and Todd did an amazing job with it. It was very simple. As a matter of fact, I said, look, you know, so all the videos we've done over the years, this is the first time we've ever been in like blue jeans and t-shirts. Let's just keep it simple, keep it beautiful. Let the message and the song be the star of this thing. Yeah. And so that's what we did.
And character. And I think it's important because many people, because in this way, like No Problem could be as well, like it's kind of like you said, I can I don't know, just dedicate it to my mom if she's still alive. I can say to my play it, and also let's say later from my grandma that she passed away. When not till 1 year ago. So even who, for example, the beautiful soul Shannon Doherty, the actress of that she passed away this weekend.
I know, I heard.
That's why she was a big person. So it's for everyone. I can say to my best friend, I can tell to my best friend, and I'm gonna to send her because she's a big fan of you. She's a friend of Stephen Piercy, so she grew up in the scene. I don't know, maybe you're mutual. I have no idea. Mutual friends, I have no idea. I'm gonna send the song to her. I want her to jump in here because when you have these people that lived and saw every one of you like literally meeting up, you know, like even in the same maybe venue or whatsoever, is even better because sometimes these people have more specific question than me that I'm just from Sicily. So, and I always kind of picture it. But of course, before just like, of course, just going towards the ending, I wanted to ask you, because of course you had such a beautiful achievement in Louisiana and as well like in Mississippi music. Like, how do you feel that? Because it's beautiful, because of course we were speaking about LA, but you were literally like, you gave a big contribution to the music in Louisiana. And you achieved
you know, we, it's kind of, we got inducted into the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame in 2010. And then 2 years ago, I got inducted personally. So I think I'm the only two-time inductee. But it's great because it's like Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis and all these Fats Domino and Little Richard, all these, icons are all in there. And we were the first like hard rock band to get inducted. So the great part about it is when we first started out, we didn't get a lot of support from like the press and stuff, us or Zebra, the hard rock bands. And still to this day, we don't. When it comes down to appreciating the fact that there are bands like us and Zebra and Crowbar and other bands from Louisiana that are out there playing, continually putting records out, making a name for our state, but we don't get talked about on TV and radio that much at all, and the local festivals. They'll only put the jazz and the Zydeco and the music that's tourist friendly from around here. And I always felt like, hey, wait a minute, we just put out our 6th album. We've sold hundreds of thousands of records. We're going on tour. We got this and this going. And the local entertainment magazine in town, they put somebody else on the cover of it and don't even do a story, but they'll do a cover of somebody that is just, a local guy who's playing his first gig for whatever, which is great. But can we get some support too? We have, we're putting you guys on the map and everything, you need to work together. So we always felt like, and I always felt like the hard rock scene never got its recognition here. So and then it's funny because, we got inducted and then we got the Mississippi Icon Award. And we're not even from Mississippi for our contribution to the Mississippi music scene for the last 30 years. So I'm like, they recognize it. Why couldn't Louisiana recognize it? So, but anyway, that's not why we do it, even though, it's nice to be recognized for things. But when you go out and you see and you meet these people and these fans and you get emails and see the response and over years and years of people saying, hey, your music saved my life. Your music kept me and got me through some really, really bad times. It's like that, if I was able to, with our music, save one soul and save one person from hurting themselves or getting them through really bad times, then that's all the reward you need.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember like listening to Love Lost War while I was going with my first time. I was driving the car and I was scared to go outside the city, you know, like to take the highway. And I took my first highway trip to it was like I don't know, like 1 hour driving. Wasn't that long, but of course for 18 years old was as like we love plus war just driving, and I was like, I can do it. So you know, these things I feel empowered, like imagining like in California or in some route in the US whatsoever.
Right.
I'm living the dream, like. But of course,
that's awesome.
Yeah, of course. Before just ending, like you mentioned that you're working on some new material. So there's something that the chance that we could see, of course, with the proper time, some new releases, of course, of LILLIAN AXE.
Yes, you could. Actually, this year's been a pretty good year. We released two box sets, part 1 and part 2. We got a brand new record deal with Brave Words.
Okay.
And then we did the tour with Girls School in Alcatraz early in the year, and then we go back out again in October with them for the West Coast. And so we're going in the studio next month to start the next album. And it's going to hopefully be out like maybe February, March of 25. But it's I'll tell you, I'll tell you right now, you'll be the first person I ever even told this to, but it's tentatively titled The 10 Commandments. And it's going to be 10 tracks, and it was divinely inspired to come up with to kind of theme it around that, like, you know, because I'm a Christian, and the 10 Commandments are, to me, they were like, you know, especially when we're such a messed up world, you know, but people are looking for guidance, and all along guidance has been there, no matter what your religion is or what you can be atheistic or whatever. These 10 commandments are not 10 suggestions, you know, they are 10 commandments that if we followed them or even respected them, the world would be a better place. So I was like, I want to write 10 songs, and each song will be based on each of the commandments. For example, it's not like, you know, like, let's say, for example, honor thy father and thy mother, right? I'm not writing a song about this, you should honor your mother and your father. No, I'm writing a song about the love between a parent and a child, or something to that effect. In other words, it's going to be based on the idea. It's not It's like meant to be. It's not to be meant to be like a preachy religious thing, but I just got inspired to do it. It's funny because every time I start thinking, okay, I love the idea. I've got images. We're already talking about album covers, 10 Commandments. Something will happen, and the term will come up, whether I'll be looking on my phone or on the radio. And so it's like God's telling me, stay with what you're going with. You're on the right path. So
that would be the purpose. If would be out for March of the next year, gonna be the present for my mom. My mom is a catechist, so that's a perfect present.
There you go.
In March, her birthday is in March.
Awesome. That's great. We start recording next month, and I'm really happy. The songs they're huge, they're epic, they're big, they're monstrous.
I look forward to it. So
I think you'll like it.
Steve, I really, before Zoom cut out, I just want to say thank you to you. And before, of course, maybe when the album is going to be announced or during the winter or the writing process, let's do another interview. Just, I will bring the other, maybe mutual, I don't know, these other girls that she's really into your music, and maybe she'll have more question, even maybe more precise. Even she's been in your concert, who knows? I don't know. For sure. And
anytime.
Definitely, it's a pleasure and it's an honor. And thank you for allowing me my first car drive.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay.
So I want to say thank you, and literally wish you all the best, and
thank you.
See you on the road, or see you in the next interview. I hope on the road it's even better. Thank you so much.
That would be great.
Never stop doing LILLIAN AXE music, because
I won't. And thank you so much. You keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And every night you lie in bed with melancholy in your head. No problem.